go ahead and
This meeting is being recorded.
thank you.
Okay.
Okay, I call this meeting to order at 3:04 p.m. May we have roll call, please?
Yes, Chair Gish,
Here,
Aurora Black,
you're on mute.
Here, and it's Aurora.
Aurora,
Thank you.
Kendra Garcia,
Present.
Pam Parfit,
Present.
Angelique Montoya Chavez,
Hello, everyone. I'm present.
Miriam Jarhar.
Miriam, you're on mute. Miriam says that she can't hear anyone, so I don't know why. Miriam is here.
Okay. Eli Fresquez,
Here.
Christopher Pommier,
Here.
Chair Gish, you have a quorum.
Thank you. Next is approval of the agenda. And if there are there any changes or amendments to the agenda? If there are no changes or amendments to the agenda, may we have approval of the agenda, motion to approve the agenda? Aurora, you're on mute.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second. This is Aurora.
Okay, all in favor, say yes.
We need to have a roll call vote, unfortunately, still, as far as I've been told.
Yes. Aurora Black,
Yes.
Kendra Garcia,
Yes.
Chair Gish,
Yes,
Pam Parfit,
Yes.
Angelique Montoya Chavez,
Yes.
Miriam Jarhar,
she can't hear, so she can't participate if she can't hear what we're saying.
The closed caption, maybe we could ask her to respond in the text.
Trying to message her.
Madam Chair, is that her on the phone? Because there's a phone line on.
Yes, it is.
Okay,
That's
All
me.
right.
all right. Kelowna, can you?
Because my voice, the speaker stopped working to hear you guys. Sorry about that.
So Miriam, we are approving the agenda.
Okay.
So she called you and you were unable to hear her, so.
Can you say it again, please?
Yeah, we made a motion and seconded to approve the agenda,
Okay.
and
Do we
you
all-
are next.
Okay. Sorry about that.
It's okay. Do you approve the agenda, or is there anything to amend or change?
From what I read, I think it's fine.
Okay,
Eli Fresquez,
Yes.
and Christopher Pommier.
Approved.
Thank you. Motion passes
thank
to
you,
approve the agenda.
thank you. Next is approval of minutes. And we have both December minutes and February minutes to approve with the transcript attached as an addendum. And first, I need to say that I have not yet received the October minutes with the transcript attached to sign. And so I need that in addition to these, however they are approved. For me, for the December 15th transcript that I received one day before what would have been the final day to approve the last meeting packet if we had held a meeting. My name is incorrect throughout the entire transcript, and that needs to be changed to be correct. There are various misspellings as well throughout the entire transcript. And that was never sent to me before it was uploaded as a video, which I was told was also uploaded and edited. And if that had been sent to me prior to the video being edited, I would have let you all know that my name was incorrect. And it's a fairly easy fix, but with the video now being uploaded, it needs to be correct. It's just, it does. Otherwise, for December 15th, I have no other issues with the transcript. And I have no issues with the February 1st minutes or transcript that was conducted with CART. If anyone else has anything to add, go ahead.
I do. I'm trying to find the raise hand button, but I can't.
That's okay.
I just raised physical hand. I don't know what date, but I reviewed some of the minutes and their pages 77, 78, 79 has to do with questions to me and my answers. I don't know who transcribes this, who transcribed it. How is this getting into written form?
Is this for, Pam, is this for December 15th or for February
Like
1st?
I said, I just know the pages. I read through so many pages and I wasn't aware of which minutes it was. It was
Okay.
probably December.
Let me look real quick and I'll find the pages that you were referring to. So it's 77, 78, and 79 in our packet.
Yes.
So that would have been with CART on February 1st, it looks like. And that would have been, yeah, it was with CART on February
So
1st.
it was a voice recognition situation. Yes, it's
No, it was
high-
with CART. No, it was at the CART, with the CART services.
Yeah, but it's very difficult to understand it. I was thinking it was a voice recognition or something grammatically, or just the intent of the sentence is very obscure.
Okay.
So whatever that is not working. And I don't find it necessary that it be corrected because it's too obscure.
It could be that, I can go back and look at it, but it could be that a lot of times when you're talking, when we are talking, we aren't necessarily clarifying what we are saying. We are discussing something that we knew during the meeting was being discussed, but then when you look at it in writing, it's not clear because it's not being reiterated over and over.
Okay.
That could be what's happening. I don't know. I'd have to go back and reread it. Eli, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I'm not exactly sure, but if this is a CART caption stenographer, sometimes they give an option of the CART captioner to provide a clean captioning, like a clean document that they go over for grammar. I'm not sure if that's the case, but we might want to follow up with them for future meetings so that we get like a grammatically cleaner document than just the live transcription.
Thank you, Eli. Your voice, your lips fell below the screen. I'm still, even with captions, it's very difficult for me because they're not in real time. So I'm lip reading, it's easier, but I need to see you above the camera. line.
Bill,
Thank
yeah,
you.
there you go.
Thank you.
Okay, Eli, I've made a note of that and we can follow up on that. Thank you. Are there any other comments, changes, amendments needed to the minutes or transcripts? So I'm going to go through each of them. Gina Maria, do you have a comment?
Yes, I believe I was in attendance on that date and I'm not listed on there, but
That could be.
I might not be reading the right page because I was looking way back at the beginning. It was 5 in the packet.
Okay, Gina Maria, I will check that because I have my notes from the last 2 meetings and I will check that to make sure that if you were or were not in attendance. Maybe you weren't when we did the roll call, I don't know.
Not on the roll call.
Okay. I'll check that. And if you were, I will definitely add you.
It's on my calendar, and usually if I don't attend something, I put canceled, airport language annex.
Okay.
It's not there. And that was when we had CART. I remember I was there. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, because usually we list the guests in attendance as well from the public.
Right. Thank you.
Yeah. If there's nothing else to add, may we, oh, Helena, are you raising your hand? No.
No.
Okay. If there's nothing else to add for the, I'm going to focus specifically on December 15th, 2022 for the minutes and transcript. If there are no other changes or amendments, may we have a motion to approve the minutes and the transcript as amended with my name corrected throughout the entire document. And possibly with Gina Maria or other attendees being added who were in attendance. Is there a motion?
I motion to approve.
Is there
I
a
second the motion.
Okay. May we have roll call vote, please?
Yes, Aurora Black,
Yes.
Kendra Garcia,
Yes.
And I can't,
Chair Gish,
Yes.
Pam Parfit,
Yes.
Angelique Montoya Chavez,
Yes.
Miriam Jarhar,
She's not on the phone anymore. She may have dropped off. Let's move past Miriam, and if she doesn't answer, we can just put her as a as an undecided because she can't respond. So,
Eli Fresquez,
Yes.
Christopher Pommier.
Yes.
Motion
Miriam
passes.
Jarhar. Oh, sorry.
Motion to approve the December 15th meeting minutes and transcript with the spelling of Chair Gish's name and other edits such as guests attending passes.
thank you.
And hello?
Miriam.
I fixed it now with
Okay.
the voice, but still no camera. I was trying to fix it, and I think I have disconnected the microphone somehow. Sorry about that.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you for letting us know, Miriam.
Frustrating. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
yes.
Next is approval of the February 1st minutes and transcript. And we will look into the issue that Pam is having and also add Gina Maria and any other attendees that were present if they are not already listed. Is there a motion to approve the minutes and transcript as an addendum as amended?
Move to approve the minutes and the addendum as amended.
And I second it.
Thank you.
Okay, those approving: Aurora Black,
Yes.
Kendra Garcia,
Yes.
Chair Gish,
Yes.
Pam Parfit,
Yes.
Angelique Montoya Chavez,
Yes.
Miriam Jahar,
Yes.
Eli Fresquez,
Yes.
Christopher Pommier.
Yes.
Motion to approve. We're talking about the February 1st
Yes.
minutes, transcript, and addendum passes.
Thank you. Next is public comments. If there are any public comments, and also we as committee members can speak on behalf of someone who is unable to attend. So if anyone has anything to mention or discuss during public comments, please raise your hand and speak now. Gina Maria, do you have something?
Was anyone else besides me on the Great Lakes ADA architectural discussion presentation yesterday? It was fabulous. They really spoke to the issue of inclusion, going beyond compliance to inclusion. And what are we going to do to be able to address issues that are not already regulated by the ADA? And just as an example, they used charging stations. And I thought it was just amazing and would be good to bring forward, to get some forward motion looking at what we need to be thinking about in terms of including people, not just compliance.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Yeah, that would be amazing. Do you know if that was recorded or if that was just
It was definitely recorded.
all right, I'll look into seeing if I can get access to that recording.
Well, they have to wait until, I mean, it always takes, I don't ever understand why it takes 2 weeks to get it posted, but I definitely have it on my radar. And I thought, Kathleen needs to see this immediately.
Yeah, that would be really
Yeah,
cool.
Eli, I was thinking of you too, Aurora, you too, Robin. Yeah, crew.
Thank you for letting us know.
You're welcome. I'm going to mute now.
Are there any other public comments, Robin? You're on mute.
See, I didn't want you guys to hear me eating M&Ms. Any of those ADA trainings that anyone can attend, they're all really quite good, very informative, really helpful. So I would recommend, trying to catch those whenever you can. Very helpful.
Thank you, Robin. Any other public comments? Okay, if there are no public comments, then next is presentations, which we have no presentations. And next is action items. Item 7A, discussion on actions needed to appoint new member in a timely manner and creating a new flyer for recruitment. When we last did the recruiting process for a committee member, it took 8 months in total to get a member actually appointed. Some of that was issues with the committee. A lot of that was issues with Tom resigning unexpectedly. And a lot of it was issues actually processing the person who we appointed, who I wish we had time to really do introductions today, but we don't. So I'm gonna schedule it in the next meeting to do a kind of brief introduction. But he's here and I'm very happy that he's here. And we can all wave. So in the process though, one thing that I discovered was that the flyer that went out was somewhat unclear as to what the city committee does. You know, while it gives a general good statement on, you know, ensuring access for all by eliminating physical and attitudinal barriers, improving participation in the community and enrichment for all. What does that actually mean? What does that look like in our committee? And so I was wanting to work on, I guess, the language to clarify what it is exactly that we do for the city, for our community, and to make it more clear so that when someone is trying to join our committee, they aren't messaging me, asking me, you know, what we do for behavioral health in the city or what we do with, you know, different state systems, because we aren't really over state systems. Yes, we can influence change, but we aren't a state committee. Chris, that's fine. And you told me, and I appreciate that. Thank you. So Chris just made a note that he has to leave by 4, and I know Kendra has to leave early as well, so that's fine. And so one of the things I wanted to work on was the messaging of the recruitment flyer, and also to ensure that it goes out in a proper way, because the amount of time that it took for us to get it on Facebook and to get it to be shareable online on the city website took a long time. And it shouldn't have taken that much. And there was also a miscommunication that occurred where the flyer went out and we needed it to be reposted in entirety so that there was a new timeline given and to extend the time that it was posted. And all that was given was a note. I think it was 3 days notice for people to apply, because the person who was in charge of posting those misunderstood and thought that we were basically making a reminder when we were actually requesting an entirely new time period for people to apply. And so I wanted to make sure that those don't reoccur, because all of that delayed the process and stalled the flyer from being posted properly and gave a false deadline to apply. And so anyway, I wanted to discuss all of that and kind of get your gears going. I know that we can work on this outside of the committee meeting. It doesn't need to happen here. But I just wanted to discuss like the messaging and what's going out. How do we clarify this flyer? Gina Maria, I saw you raise your hand.
Yes, don't we have a good connection with the Santa Fe New Mexican? That reporter that was at our last meeting might be willing or able to get something just
Yeah, I don't know about the details about publishing things like that. I know that with the city, traditionally, it has been on the city website. And then we requested it to be placed on Facebook for visibility and for ease of access, which was apparently new. Although I do remember committees in the past having that as an option. I don't remember it being published in any sort of publication.
Just a
Yeah.
thought.
Yeah, no, it would be great. Yeah. I don't know if Regina, if you know how that works with committees. You're on mute.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, I believe our communications team gets all that out. Michaela Beggins is our primary point of contact. You've been working with her a little bit,
Yeah.
website. So I think she can get it out to Facebook and it will go to the newspaper for sure.
Okay. All right, I'm making a note of that so that when this happens and it goes out, we can kind of all be on the same page going forward, so it's not as hectic and trying to figure out who is who and who is going to contact and move it forward. So, if anyone has any ideas, you're welcome to voice them. But I just wanted to voice that I did receive questions from people in the community that had no understanding of what we do as a committee, and don't understand that we are a city committee. And once I voiced what we do, they were not interested because they wanted to deal with issues like behavioral health in the state. And so while I agree that those are incredibly important things, that's not really directly what we do as a committee. We of course, like I said, can bring awareness of those issues to the city and to our community, but it's more through city channels. And so, but I don't feel like this flyer adequately voices that and clarifies that for people so that they aren't trying to join a state committee and then and really joining a city committee that's a little bit more limited. So if there aren't any direct ideas, which I understand right now, I just wanted to voice all of that so that we can go forward all on the same page. Eli, go ahead.
Thanks, Madam Chair, and I apologize, I had to step out for a second. Is it that the flyer itself, we don't think it has the level of detail we need or the right language?
Yeah, it's not as clear as it could be. Yeah.
Okay. Well, a couple ideas. These are just ideas I'll throw out there. We could, and I don't know what the process is with the city, but we could, as a committee, we could come up with new language that provides a little bit more detail. I don't want to create more work for us, but if we are identifying that we do need more detail in there, maybe that's something we could work on collectively and provide that draft to the city and see if we want to update the flyer. My understanding is that we just have one vacancy. Is that right?
Yeah, currently.
Okay, so that's great. I mean,
Yeah.
just one vacancy. So I think we have a pretty robust committee right now. We're looking for one more person. So maybe for now, we also just case by case, when someone reaches out, they're interested, we also communicate to them and explain to them what we do. That might be another just simple way of kind of getting through this, but at the same time, taking the flyer and working on new copy for it. I'd hate to hold it up though, and like not have the flyer out there, because I think it would be great to have another person on the committee.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And also, another thing I was thinking was one easier way, and maybe we could do this immediately with the current messaging, is that it also doesn't have a link to the Mayor's Committee on Disability webpage, which does provide more specific information about what we do. I did ask for that and it just never happened. And so perhaps we can edit the flyer to include that, and then that would suffice for now. And then we can work on compiling a more clear document going forward. How does that sound with everyone? Yeah, okay. Thank you, Eli. Next is 7B, updates on City of Santa Fe acquisition and proposed training to use and utilize ADA kits during emergencies and community events. Eli?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, so we have a meeting with Brian Williams set up for not this Friday, but the following. And so this is a subcommittee of the Mayor's Committee that's focused on emergency preparedness, emergency management, disability and access and functional needs. And Christy Baruso is the lead, and she's been working with us and providing really fabulous notes. While I was doing a lot of my other work with legislative session, I wasn't able to attend those meetings, but she was able to be a part of those meetings with the city. And I do want to thank the city and Brian Williams for making himself or his staff available. And so our next meeting is actually going to be at the Jivo Chavez Center, which is where potential sheltering could be for fire this spring and summer. So it's another good way of just connecting with the center. But we will be talking specifically about these ADA kits, which are really assistive listening devices for emergencies. So oftentimes in evacuations, for example, people with disabilities have to evacuate very quickly, and they may not have their assisted listening devices. So this is just one way of providing those services at a mass care event. But we're also going to be talking about utilizing these assistive listening kits that include so like an iPad and things like that for maybe blue sky situations. So maybe some event planning and things like that. That's all just like something we need to talk with Brian and other folks about. But we just started. I know he just acquired the kits within the last month and a half or two. So we're really at the preliminary stage. We also want to have some trainings done on the kits themselves. Often what happens is you would acquire these kits, but if people don't know of their availability and how to use them, they get, dusty and in the corner. So we've been talking with Nathan Gom, who's the executive director for the Commission for the Deaf and Hard of Hearing. And he knows he can help assist with coordinating the training and having a subject matter expert for the kits that are available as well. And just real quick, they were utilized quite a bit during COVID. Lauren DiZavito, who was the Disability and Access Functioning Coordinator for the State Department of Health, had these out at many of the sites, and they were used quite a bit. So there is a real, once you get them out there, people will use them.
Thank you, Eli. Robin?
Yeah, Eli, are those just for hearing impaired? Are there any kind of visual aids in there, magnifying glasses, stuff like that?
There is. Okay. It's not just, it's primarily has a lot of assistive listening device technology, but it's meant to be for all disabilities. So it does have those features.
Okay, cool.
Pam, go ahead.
Eli, having used just about every kind of assistive listening device throughout my life, how does this work? Is it an FM system? Is it just captions, live listen type thing, and we read it on a tablet, or what is it? How does it work?
Yeah, I don't have the details in front of me. It's going to depend on the kind of kit. So depending on what the items that were included in the kit, there's different kinds of features it provides. So we'll have to dig a little bit more on what the particular features were purchased, and that's part of the conversation next Friday, is to dive a little bit more into what are the features of this particular kit, because you can buy different kinds of kits with different kinds of features. So that'll be part of the discussion. So Pam, I don't know yet, but we're going to find out.
Would it be possible to invite the city staff who've been working on this to discuss the purchases and the details about all of that? Do you think that would be helpful, Eli?
Yeah, so Brian Williams will be there. We've kind of been relying on him to help coordinate, and Christy.
I mean, to our next meeting.
Oh yeah,
in May.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. They actually came in. I mean, Nathan, if you all remember, about a year ago, maybe a little longer, Nathan Guom and Lauren DiZavito from the state actually came and presented on the kits. And I think, Aurora was there, and I remember her saying, like, this is a no-brainer. We should see if we can get these kits. They're part of COVID funding, and so it's just an opportunity. So yeah, absolutely, we should have them come and present on the kits and even provide an in-service training for us so that we all know, or at least have an idea on how to utilize the kits.
Okay.
They
I
were
wrote
just
that down.
acquired. They were just acquired, so I'm not exactly sure what they were what was purchased yet.
Okay. Pam, go ahead.
My question is, I know Nathan. Do you have any people who would actually be using the kits? Putting input into what should be purchased? I mean, hearing loss is not just like you're either here or you're deaf. I mean, the way the hearing aids work, what kinds of features you have in them, whether you have no hearing device and I mean, it's so huge, the subject. I'm just wondering if you're getting users to have input into what actually would work.
Yeah, absolutely. So Nathan is an expert, so we do rely heavily on him, and also the experience of Lauren, who actually deployed the kits. So we had a person who used the kits in the field, and also Nathan, who's the state expert when it comes to a lot of these things, but they don't know everything, right? So I think that's the opportunity for us. They just purchased 2 kits. So I think we as a team can come together once we get a little bit more information, working with the emergency manager here in the city. And I think we could provide some feedback as well, and maybe even share it with the School for the Deaf, get their input, because my idea is they just purchased 2 kits. This might be an opportunity to purchase more, or if we want to add some features to it. So far, working with Brian, he's been really open to suggestions and input. So I kind of see these as like pilots, and maybe that's something we can certainly expand on. I hope so anyway.
Yeah, the way that I viewed these emergency kits and the purchase of them, because initially the city was going to purchase 1 and we got them to purchase 2. So initially the way that I view this is that this is the start. And so we have the ability though now to test these to see what does and doesn't work, what we want more of, what we want less of, all of that. So that's how I'm viewing this. It's our foot in the door to change accessibility during emergencies and events. And I think that that's huge. And the amount of work that it took, Eli, I remember you going over how much work it took just to get through this, to get the 2 kits. So
yeah, absolutely. And we had to lift it up, right, and make the city aware that these were things. And we had to have a series of discussions with the city for them to understand the importance of them and why we thought they be useful in emergencies and then possibly in public events and other kinds of situations. And then there was the procurement. We had to wait for procurement and all of that. But again, I do want to appreciate the city and Brian for following through and getting these kits. And so now, like the chair said, I think this is the start. And I really like the idea of having them come and present. And actually, I'll tell you, I've seen some of these kits and I've used them. Really, honestly, to really understand these kits, you gotta be physically with them and put them on and listen and do all these things. So we might want to think about having an in-person get together where we actually do an in-person training on the kits and get to use them a bit.
thank you, Eli. Pam, do you have more to say?
Oh, I keep that hand up, I'm sorry.
That's
But
okay.
as a side, I would like to say they could have been in use at the mayor's state of the city address, in which they failed to turn on, no one had heard of, no one knew how to work, the assistive listening system. I could have used that emergency system you're talking about at the mayor's state of the city address at the convention center. And if no progress is made with training the personnel there as to its existence and how to use it, I think you should store them there.
Thank you, Pam. Does anyone have any further comments on the ADA emergency kits or anything related? Gina Maria, go ahead.
Yeah, kind of related. It keeps coming up. I keep thinking about this. Is there like, I want to say like a map? Does emergency management have a map of where we are? And that would be something, obviously, as a person with a disability, we are disclosing each person because they want to. And getting the word out, I mean, I always think of it like, what would happen if I couldn't get to my vehicle to evacuate? They have a hard time moving me, but.
So I see Regina's hand up,
Yeah,
so,
Regina, go ahead.
sorry.
Sorry, I'm not responding to, if you guys want to respond to Gina Maria, maybe you want to go ahead.
Yeah, Gina Maria, so the short answer is no, and the longer answer is it sort of depends. I think what you might be asking is, and maybe I'm wrong here, but like a voluntary registry, is that something yeah. And this is something that it's really going to depend on the particular community, whether it's useful or not. I will say that in general, voluntary registries are not as helpful as people think. And sometimes they create disincentives for preparedness. And many people in the disability community don't like the idea of putting themselves on a list. It is voluntary, right? So that's something that we discussed quite a bit in my previous career. And generally speaking, you want to localize it. So let your local fire department or EMS know about where you are and make those local connections. And the city also has a text system that they use, Smart 911, that seems relatively robust. It's probably not, it's not perfect. There's not any perfect device. But doing some research, maybe that's something we can do, a little research on these kinds of voluntary registries. But by and large, what I've heard is that they sometimes create a sense of safety when they're really not, they really don't provide that. So yeah, that's the longer answer to your question.
The one thing that always concerns me are the people who don't have cars, the people who rely on Santa Fe Ride and Santa Fe Transit. Those people, I think really in senior van who really don't have any other way. I mean, some of the people will have other rides, but there's a fair number of them who don't have access to a vehicle or another ride in the event of emergency. So yeah, that always concerns me.
Regina, go ahead.
Thank you. That was the perfect lead into my topic, Aurora. And Eli might be able to help me with this because I'm a little bit new to this subcommittee. But we, Christy, who's leading that emergency response preparedness for accessibility, has asked us to do a transit oriented conversation with that subcommittee to talk about transit response and emergencies, which is actually a significant part of our preparedness already. Transit does have quite a number of services they provide. And as Aurora was just saying, we provide medical transportation now for many. We provide the paratransit, of course, for a number of customers, and we do have all kinds of information about those folks, right? Because we pick them up at their homes at a regular basis. We actually even know what their disabilities are. In some cases, it's dialysis we're taking them for, or other things, that other special needs they have for us to get them into the van and where they're going. So I just wanted to let you know that Transit will be talking to this subcommittee about emergency preparedness for accessibility. And then I did want to touch, and that's in May. I think the May 13th, maybe I think is the date. And then I wanted to touch on what Pam mentioned about the hearing loop at the mayor's State of the City. Thank you so much for letting us know that happened. I'll definitely follow up with the team there. And Chair Gish, I don't know if the hearing loop request that Pam submitted for hearing loop at the council chambers is on the agenda, because I did want to give a little update and maybe ask for input on that.
No, it's not, but it's important. I'm trying to think of where we could put it now.
Maybe here, since we're talking about the hearing loop with
Yeah,
respect to the mayor.
let's go ahead and discuss it now. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
So we did install a hearing loop at the council chambers 4 years ago, right when I got here. I was here 5 years ago. So we have a project now. We've actually already cut the PO to replace that and install a new one. I have a little concern though, because typically how you're supposed to do a hearing loop is like a grid on the floor, so it has good coverage and proximity to different people that will be using it. That because all we would do is, we're not like installing it new, there's already carpet on the floor. They're proposing to just put it around the perimeter. And I wanted to get feedback. It's not going to work. Okay, that's what I was wondering. And so our second option is that Public Works will come up with some money to actually carpet over it. Because we can't take up the carpet in the council chambers because there's asbestos mastic underneath it. So we can't disturb really the whole, city halls like that because of the age it was built. So we'll take a look. You think, Pam, it's really important that we have the gridding, and so we can maybe install carpet over the properly installed loop. Thank you.
Could I call that out? That's a phased array that you want. And the current loop is a perimeter loop, which has so many dead spots. If you're not on the council in the right chair, it doesn't work. If you're in the audience and you're not in the right seat, it doesn't work. I know if you go to the Lensic, you can see that there's carpet down the aisles, but where the patrons sit in the seats, those are covered over with a kind of molded protection for the wire there. So a professional installer, and if the city needs some guidance on that, I'd be happy to give you some names of people that we know are professional and know what they're doing. And there are installers in this city that don't know what they're doing. And you have to be very careful about the selection of the person who does the work.
It's Romy. Do you know Romy?
Yes.
That's who we've contracted with. How does that person know?
She sent you a bid, and she sent it recently as a follow-up of what was done a year or two ago for her bid. I don't know if it changed or not, but she is aware of what's happened. I thought she was the one that installed it, but she wasn't. She's the one that was called in to fix it. And then she rebid it because it needs to be a phased array and not a perimeter loop.
Thank you so much for that. This is something that I deal with here now that we've taken this, now that we're committed to really creating accessibility on all levels and ways for the city, right? So our IT department is learning about this being a requirement, and they're very adamant that phase arrays outside their budget. They're not going to do it. So I'm gonna, and I'm adamant that they have to. So I'm sure we will get there, and I will. Thank you so much, Pam. I wanted to get that information from you to bring to them to support my case and get what we needed installed. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I'd like to add something. You said the convention center loop. That is a Bluetooth system, and it is not legal, but we see that it is coming because there's latency in the system. So without cart to be visually synced with the audio, it's off from the speaker. So it's not just a Bluetooth system, it has to have cart also so that the word syncs with the visual write out. Printing.
Can I make sure I understand what you're saying? So if they had the phased array hearing loop, that would be fine, but they don't. They have Bluetooth instead, and that needs CART to go with it.
Yes, I don't know if it's called Auracast, AURACAST. It's an Auracast. It's what everybody wants. You come in and you zap a QR code on your phone. It's not legal because everybody doesn't have a smartphone. Gina Marie, you probably know all about this too. And it's just what Melanie Moore insisted was the future. And in terms of the future, she is correct, but you can't read lips with the system because it's not synced. So for the deaf, they have to read it anyway. So you zap this QR code with your smartphone, but unless you're providing smartphones for everyone, it's discriminatory, but it's what the city has.
Thank you so much for that, Pam. The other thing that I'm taking away from this conversation is that, you know, again, we're really trying to get much better at this, but I need to remind the city clerk that when we have the mayor speaking anywhere, you really need to think about CART, you know, hearing loops, you know, all the accessibility features, and that is not on the checklist right now, but I'll definitely talk to them about that. Thanks for bringing that up.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Regina. Thank you, Pam. We do need to move on, unfortunately.
Can I add one tiny thing?
Yeah, go ahead.
QR codes are fabulous if you have two hands to coordinate. I don't know why I can't get, it's really hard. Maybe on the 7th or 8th try, I'm finally getting it, but just.
I recently did one successfully. That'll tell you where I'm at with those.
Yeah, on occasion I can do them. They're the ones that they were sending me for FEMA disappear in like 1 nanosecond. It's like, no, my hands aren't that fast.
Yeah, that's my issue as well.
Robin's gonna add something too. Go.
Actually, stepping back one more, Regina, when you guys have the mayor making, you know, state of the city kind of address, do you have ASL interpreters as a general practice?
No, it's very, you know what, the way I'm definitely working with this city clerk based on Pam's request now to always have CART at the governing body meetings and to have the hearing loop fixed. So I've been talking to them about, you know, having the CART and Spanish, right? That's another accessibility thing, I would say, right? So it should be, and so CART, Spanish, hearing loop, and now you're saying AS. Oh, that's right. So that's the sign language. But I had a question about that, Robin. Does a good CART transcription substitute for sign language?
You know, ASL and spoken English are not the same. There's a really big difference in syntax. And I always get syntax and semantics. So sentence structure and even the words that are used. And so, you know, I think in some events, I think that you can get by with waiting and seeing if someone requests an ASL interpreter. But I think that if you're a fluid ASL interpreter, you may or may not be able to easily or successfully read written English. And so in that sense, I think maybe CART doesn't always work for everyone. But I do think that if there's some kind of media event or something like that the mayor is doing, I think that just as a general rule, there should be an ASL interpreter. I think there should be one for that event. You know, if it's just general information going out to, you know, that just covers all the bases, you know, because unfortunately they're really not the same. English and ASL are not the same at all.
No, and I can add to that. I learned ASL. I took 2 courses at SFCC. It is very different. And people who use ASL, that language is very different than written English. And the culture that goes around ASL is very different than the culture that we know of with communication. And so it's more clear with ASL. For people who use ASL is much more clear than just written language. Written language is just word for word. It doesn't have context. And it's lacking a lot of the emotion and context. And so it's really easy for someone who is deaf and who grew up using ASL to get completely lost.
Yeah, just to add to what you're saying, Kathleen, I think that like ASL is not just about the hands. It's about facial expressions. It's about the way you move your head. It's full body communication. And so if I raise my voice like this, if you just sign, that's not going to indicate that. But so the person who's signing has to be able to, and so, yeah, so it's very different, bottom line. So I would really urge, I think there's some things that happen with the city that you could just have, if someone requests it, that's understandable. But I think that if it's any kind of, mayor's thing, then I think like general, to the general public, then I think that you really should have an ASL interpreter present. Just as a general rule of thumb.
I just add, sorry. I just added that dimension of an ASL interpreter in a letter I've already posted to the editor of the New Mexican. I don't know when or if they will print it, but it covers this subject, including the need for an ASL interpreter live.
And I want to say too that I did watch a portion of one of the governing body meetings, and I did notice that some of the city councilors are aware of this issue with the need for various interpreters. Spanish, ASL, I'm sure is included in that. And so they want to expand on that. And so actually need to get a hold of the ones that were discussing it and to make sure that they do include ASL and CART in that going forward. But I was happy to see that they're aware that there needs to be an expanded access and inclusion in their public meetings.
Actually, yeah, I'm sorry. My brain gets going. Regina, to give you an example, when the governor started giving her media events from home during COVID, there was no ASL interpreter. They dropped that service. And so many people who use ASL had no access to what the governor was saying regarding COVID. And so that was one of the projects that we worked on, was to try to get an ASL interpreter back online with the governor, back on the TV stations for her media events. And I think that's a really good example of the kind of situation that can arise.
Thank you all.
All right, the next item on the agenda is 7C. Eli, go ahead. Let me read the summary real quick. So it is summer commemoration dinner proposal to celebrate and give awards to selected city staff and others who have supported the disability community, and creation of subcommittee to organize the event.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, so this is something that Kendra and I had started to work on back in 2019 into 2020, and then COVID hit. So then everything changed after that. But the idea behind this is to do an event where we come together in commemoration of the Americans with Disabilities Act and July, which is Disability Pride Month. And it's, the details are yet to be worked out, but essentially what it is to come together as a community with city leaders to commemorate the ADA, and also to think about what we can do for recognition, both in the community, but also in government and in employers, possibly in the city. It's something that lots of different communities do in July. Some have disability pride parades, some have other kinds of events. So this is something that I really think would be fantastic for the city to highlight the issues, the concerns, but also the great things that the city is doing as well when it comes to accessibility. Make it be something that's positive and hopeful and looking towards the future. I think what would be helpful, because we don't have a lot of time if we want to do this in the next 2.5 months or so, is to form a subcommittee. And that subcommittee could include a couple members of this committee and maybe a couple members of the public to start working on what the venue may look like, what some of those details may be, work on this very diligently, and then see what we can do for this summer, again, to commemorate the American Disabilities Act and Disability Pride Month.
Thank you, Eli. Regina?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Eli. I think that sounds really great. It is extremely late to be planning for a summer event. We get booked completely solid for the summer. There is an application process to use a city facility for a summer event. We probably need to get that in right away to see if there is anything available that'll be suitable for the event. So yeah, I guess just encouragement to that FAST is a good idea, as you already said.
You had mentioned creating a subcommittee. And so I know that Yumi and Kendra have been working together on a lot of things. I don't know if anyone else would want to join in on this.
What times are your subcommittees meeting?
We need to create the subcommittee. That's why I'm asking who would be on it. I mean, it's
Yeah.
not really important to know, but I can, that way I can at least note down who is on, who wants to be on it or participate. There's other ways to participate. Like, I know we can only have 3 members on the subcommittee without holding a public meeting. But there's other ways to contribute. We can also make sure that we have time in these public meetings. Go ahead, Kendra.
So what I was just gonna say is I will love to continue working on this with Eli since we started it.
Yeah, okay. And then who else is interested?
I'd love to do it if it's after work hours and not on Wednesday or Thursday.
Okay. Anyone else?
Participate as well.
Okay. Yeah, we'll figure out if there's more than 3, we can figure it out. That's one thing that I'm really unclear on is like why I understand public meeting requirements to not have a quorum and all of that. But me as the chair, I kind of have to like oversee things. And so it's kind of frustrating for me because then there's usually 4 of us, at least. And then I have to like pull back and be like, not have any sort of oversight. And then everything just gets delayed and stalled. So Aurora,
I want to say what a lovely idea.
yeah, I agree. So we'll figure it out. Right now it'll be Kendra, Angelique, and Eli officially. I am more than happy to contribute when I'm able to. And I'm, as the chair, I have to sign off on everything, so I have to be a part of it anyway.
Yeah, we could report up to you, Madam Chair, and Gina Maria, we'd love to have you.
Yeah. Okay, so we have Gina Maria, Angelique, Kendra, and Eli. And so I would like to make a motion to approve the creation of the subcommittee to support the summer commemoration dinner that's being proposed for July of 2023. Is there, go ahead.
Madam Chair, if I may, maybe we don't call it dinner yet because we're not sure.
Okay.
That adds a little extra level of complexity.
Yeah.
Maybe we call it just event. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Celebration.
But
Summer
although food is a powerful force, I know.
I'm sure that there will always be food, even if it's just an event. Yeah. So
Madam Chair.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry to, what
That's
is it? Angelique had her hand raised.
Oh.
I don't know if she still had a question or a comment.
Thank you. So in the past, I've been a part of a bunch of inclusive events, and we get a great response from the community as far as like donating a venue, donating food. We get a lot of people with disabilities involved in setting things up. It just becomes very inclusive. So, yeah, I would love to be part of this.
Yeah, and I know that there are rules. I don't know, Regina, we would have to go over it with you about the rules regarding donations and stuff because we're a city committee. So I don't know if there's anything that might be a barrier to that, or that we would have to do like a more public acknowledgement, or I don't know what's all involved in that. We haven't done anything like this in a very long time, if at all. And so we will have to check in with you on that going forward. But yeah, that all sounds really good to me, Angelique. Kendra, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, Regina, if we can contact you, myself, Eli, and Angelique to see about setting a time outside of this so that we can get more clarification as to what we are able to do and not.
Yes.
Madam Chair, and thank you so much. You know what, I don't know much about this, so I will get us a good person to work with on this.
Thank you, Regina. So moving forward then with the creation of the subcommittee for the summer commemoration event for July of 2023. May we have a motion to approve the subcommittee?
I so move.
Is there a second?
I second.
May we have a roll call vote, please?
Yes, Chair. Aurora Black,
Yes.
Kendra Garcia,
Yes.
Chair Gish,
Yes.
Pam Parfit,
Yes.
Angelique Montoya Chavez,
Yes.
Miriam Jahar,
Yes.
Eli Fresquez,
Yes.
Christopher Pommier.
He left at 4, so he's excused as of 4.
Motion passes to create a subcommittee for the Summer ADA July commemoration event.
Thank you. If there's nothing else, we need to move forward. Next item on the agenda is a continued discussion on updated ADA coordinator job description and process to hire, the recruiter and the Flipbook as a recruitment tool. And this is myself, Eli, and Regina. So in the packet, let me get to that 1 second. In the packet, I included copies of what I've been able to find so far. And it includes what the city has done. And I will say that, Regina, you have been working on fixing the Flipbook because it initially was not accessible at all. It was just an image. And the font was actually very poor.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. Is our CART person have their hand up? Is she having a technical difficulty? Is that our CART person?
No, that's no, Gemini Shell is from the Governor's Commission on Disability.
An SFPL user?
I don't know who that is. We will find out in a minute.
Okay, sorry, never mind.
I'll
Sorry
have
to
them introduce themselves. Yeah, that's okay. So I wanted to include in the packet what I've been able to find so far, just looking really quickly. I do have some concerns about the recruitment process and things that are being required that are unclear that I've noticed. Some of these things include, where's my notes? One second. So my notes for these, so first, one of the issues that has been occurring, like I said, was the inaccessibility of the documents that went out for the ADA coordinator position. as far as I know, like I said, that has been resolved. I did find the flip book, and the text is able to be selected. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's fully accessible. There may or may not be image descriptions. I didn't get to check that at all. But I did see that that is at least being worked on, to be updated. Regina, I did have a question for you. When you hired the recruiter, what questions regarding accessibility of documents and process to recruit an AGA coordinator was discussed with this recruitment agency?
None. Just like we have always done whenever we posted the position with HR, we don't have any special requirements.
Okay. Because I think that that contributed to the lack of a accessible format document and the recruitment process not being accessible. And so I'm going to make a note of that because it does need to kind of be better integrated into the recruitment process overall for all city positions, not just this one. And so that needs to be addressed. And that was with HR specifically. Was HR the one who recruited this agency, or you, or you? Okay.
Yeah, I worked, it was, thank you so much, Madam Chair, for asking. It was actually largely as a result of your guys's advocacy.
Yeah.
That when I told the mayor that I really needed help getting this position filled by a qualified candidate, he approved extra budget. And
Okay.
I went ahead and pursued and found and got quotes and got the contract in place and all that jazz. And he supported.
Okay. Yeah, because we can work on the process going forward to make sure that it's integrated with the city as a whole to include questions about accessibility and making sure that, like I said, all job positions are accessible. And then one of my questions was, let's see. So on page 8 of that flip book, and I did bring this to your attention. So typically what I've seen for city job positions is it requires 3 references. And it doesn't even specifically say it needed to be a supervisor or a coworker or anything. But for this position, for some reason, on the recruitment book, flip book, it says it needs, and I quote, 6 professional references. It says, to be considered, please submit a resume, cover letter, and 6 work-related references, 2 supervisors, 2 direct reports, and 2 colleagues. And that resumes should reflect years and months of positions held with beginning and end dates. And then it gets very confusing because it says, please go to the Santa Fe website to submit your application, sends you directly to the city website, but not to the employment pages. And then when you go there, it's honestly confusing. And then it also states that there is a minimum of 3 years of work experience, but then I think we're needing 6 references. Is that really feasible if 3 years minimum is required? Yeah, so Regina, if you want to answer to that.
Thank you. Yes, the city requires that all applicants go through the city portal. So that's the only way that can be applied. So that's our process and that's consistent. I think one of the questions I have is that, is the city's portal accessible? Because that's basically what all jobs get and that's all they get.
Yeah.
And the fact that we have this additional recruiter that's now posting verbiage on a bunch of websites. If you Google the position, you'll get about 20 hits on it. There's a lot. So it's like the basic that all jobs get is, to me, the baseline here, right? So is that accessible? And then, the brochure we could just throw away and stop even advertising it, right? I mean, we don't need the brochure. It's really just about getting the word out there and trying to attract candidates. So yeah, that's what I was going to ask. Thank you.
Okay. And then in relation to that, I guess it's confusing to me too, because there's a second paragraph that says resumes will be screened with consideration of the criteria outlined in this brochure. Candidates deemed to have the most relevant qualifications will be invited to an interview with the consultant, following which the most qualified candidates will be invited for interviews with the city. And so what that says is that if someone doesn't have 6 references, professional references specifically, then would they be erased from the process? Because according to the paragraph before, it says to go directly to the city. And that's where there's like all this confusion about who exactly do you go to apply for this job position.
I'm sorry if that sounds confusing. It sounded kind of clear to me. You apply at the city website and then you'll have an interview with the recruiter. And then you get past that, the next step is the interview with the city, and that's how we're working it. And not having 6 references is not a screening. We're actually screening every single candidate that applies. We're not even letting HR filter them for their qualification, which is usually quite stringent, and they filter out a lot of people. So every single applicant getting to the recruiter, and he's having direct conversations with them, and he's already in conversations with 3 candidates right now.
Okay, because that is not clear. I'm just gonna let you know that. Robin, you had your hand up in relation to this specific issue, if you want to go ahead.
Yeah, I'm maybe I'm missing something. So applicants do have to have 6 references? I don't think I've ever heard of that.
No, he's just requesting it. It's not, there's no minimum requirement of anything. Any applicant that applies is getting through.
Right, so I'm just concerned that if someone's reading that and they don't have the 6 references and it's not clear that they don't have to, then they may not even apply.
And that's also my concern, just on record.
Yeah.
Gemini and then Pam.
Hi, everybody. I have to go at 4:30, so thanks for calling on me. I wanted to let everyone know that this recruiter, David Niemeyer, actually contacted me this morning and asked if I had any information on ways to reach out to people with ADA coordinator certificates or other potentially qualified candidates. And I offered to send the announcement to my distribution list, which is almost 700 people. And all of those people are individuals who have received some kind of training on the ADA from the Governor's Commission on Disability. Many of them, not all by any means, and not even the majority, but many of them do have ADA coordinator certificates. So I've already heard back from a couple of people who thanked me for sending it and seemed interested. So I just wanted to let everybody know that happened. I don't have much more than that. I'm also reaching out to the person who's in charge of the ADA coordinator certificate program to see if I can get from him a list of people in New Mexico who actually do have ADA coordinator certificates. And if we can get that list from him, potentially we might be able to target even more specific folks who would potentially be good candidates for the position. So I'm working on that angle as well. And I'm sorry, I didn't think to offer to send it to my distribution list before, because we've talked about this. And I've been at meetings where this was discussed. I should have offered to send the job announcement to my distribution list. And I'm sorry I didn't do that before, but somebody pointed him in my direction and we had a conversation and it did happen. So.
I did get your email, Gemini.
Oh, good, Robin. Super. And Kathleen, I think you're on my distribution list too. So I think you probably got it. And Eli, you are. So if any of the rest of you, if any of the rest of you want to be on my distribution list, please just get in touch with me and I can add you. And that distribution list, I send out information about upcoming trainings, the ADA coordinator certificate program, different events and job openings with the GCD and things like that. It's not a ton of emails every year. It's just a handful. So you won't get bombarded with information from me or anything like that.
Thank you so much, Gemini.
Sure. I'm happy to have been able to do it. And don't hesitate to ask if you need anything else from us. We're here to help.
Thank you. I appreciate that very much.
Sorry, I have to leave early.
That's okay. I appreciate you being here.
I got here late, but anyway, okay. I'm glad I was able to be here for part of it.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. Next is Pam.
My question has to do with the pay rate. I saw the packet that you have online, Kathleen, and I was looking at the pay range, 23 something to 20 something, 27, 25, $50,000 to $74,000 a year. I do know that some people who are graduating or have graduated from the ADA training certificate program know about this job, but they say the pay is so low that they cannot afford to even apply to that for that position. So I'm wondering, is there anything that, I don't know how pay rates are set in the city, but I know that that's a barrier. And I know there are people who would apply who are qualified, but they say they could not afford maybe a single person, but a family person would have a very hard time living on that.
What was the
Regina,
range again?
74,000. It's the top of the range. I can tell you how that's established. We have a tool at the city that a job description, and the one we just wrote this job description, so it just happened, is run through this tool, and the tool pops out, and based on qualifications required, including years of experience in education, certifications and licensure, and then also based on the job responsibilities, it gives us a range, and there is no budging that. It's not optional. The only thing that can set a range for pay at the city is that tool, and we just ran it. And we run into this constantly. One of the things to remember is that the city of Santa Fe has the most generous healthcare benefits in the state, in this whole entire state of any municipality, and the most generous HERA contributions too. So you could make $10,000 more at the state of New Mexico and take home the same pay as you do if you make 10,000 less at the city, because the city pays for your healthcare and the city pays for your para deductions. We also have a really generous vacation leave policy. We also have work from home policy. So it's a whole, it's a whole package. It's not just the pay. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Yeah.
Could I just add that the generous package is great, but actually these employees, many of them still qualify for Medicaid, and they have to have it in addition to the state health program, and that they're sometimes even on food stamps. And I don't see, I guess that's a bigger picture than where I'm just questioning the extreme need we have for an ADA coordinator in this city, and thinking of them on Medicaid in addition to the state healthcare system and possibly food stamps.
Yeah, and I will add to that one of my main concerns is, even with the pay rate being what it is, they would still potentially be paying half of their income for rent. And so, it's an issue overall. It's clearly not just the pay rate, it's also the rent rate. The cost of living here, is very high compared to other areas. And so, we definitely can push the city going forward to make it more competitive. I know that Eli and I have discussed this with Regina and the city as well, and intend to continue discussing it because it is important that we get a really fantastic person and that they be able to stay and to be able to afford to live here. And so that is definitely on my list, Pam, of things to keep pushing for. And so I guess I will do Eli first and then SFPL user. You will need to introduce yourself, SFPL user, but go ahead, Eli.
Yeah, I'll be really quick. I just wanted to say that we did reach out to the Governor's Commission for the Blind, and they reviewed the flip brochure, which was actually pretty interesting because it's not very accessible. However, the city, they did sort of they did do some things to push that to make it much more accessible. So I do appreciate Regina's work on that in the city. And Jesse, also from the Governor's Commission, was also there. We studied it. It was actually kind of a learning experience for everyone to kind of like see how these flip books work. The thing is that, not everything's going to be totally accessible. So we shouldn't let the perfect be the enemy of the good. We did shift it and made it more accessible, but I think it was a learning experience for everyone. So hopefully as we get more digital products out there, they'll be more accessible. And I don't know, Chair, if we're going to talk about the training that Jesse did. I don't want to take up any more time on this particular.
Yeah, we will get to that.
Okay, good.
I guess under 8D, which
Great,
I'm hoping
okay.
to get to fairly quickly. So
Okay, great.
yeah. So SFPL user, please try and keep it brief. We have a half hour left of the meeting.
Hello,
And please introduce yourself too.
my name is Mona and I am 100% disabled and I have been prevented from accessing city services, including this meeting where I did not hear the public thing counted. I did not get an agenda. Eli was nice enough to help me a couple of times and I really appreciate that. He was doing the city clerk's work. And instead of the ADA coordinator doing what is clearly required on the city's excellent ADA things, instead of doing that, she took over the idea that she should be the bill collector for the water department, when clearly the issue, as I stated to the retiring Shannon Jones, who neglected to contact me from October. I have texts promising he would contact me, and nothing. It's not only not ADA compliant, it is absolutely obstructive to even a common citizen. Plus the fact that when I communicated in confidence to the chair of this meeting, she violated my confidentiality.
No, I did not. I contacted them and I never stated your name or anything about you. I requested who a person would speak to. I never violated confidentiality whatsoever.
I don't have the ability since I have no printer. I'm on a borrowed laptop from the library. And I have been working on this problem and being told lies by the water billing director that she had no boss. And only when I got connected on a computer in sometime September, October, did I go through all of the 4,500 emails, deleted the junk, and read all of the city weekly emails. Through that, I found that Shannon Jones was the public utilities director. That is the only person who has the policy making ability to accommodate me under the ADA. Obviously, no one else in this city knows, including the ADA coordinator, who has refused to contact me since January 4th or 6th. And I have made very clear. And instead, she's acting as a bill collector. Everybody I've contacted, I don't have time in the time you're allowing me. And that's one of my big disabilities. I don't have a printer to organize these things, to print them out. Excuse me, I have the floor, don't I? Or do I?
Yes, and I wanted to state that we did have public comment. And I'm sorry that you didn't hear, but I stated that several times that we had public comment. I make sure to state that several times.
I'm sorry, I was here and I was listening. I have extensive cognitive disabilities, not intellectual ones. And because because of the whole situation I'm in, which every single one of the disabilities, the functional disabilities that are listed, I have, okay? So I would like some respect and accommodation. It's clear to me from trying to read the agendas, which are not an accessible format. It is, and they say, I've been having snarky responses from various people in the city, including senior services, newly hired connector, navigator, whatever, saying, oh, the ADA and the senior service, we don't have anything to do with the ADA. Imagine that. Senior services, no less. Okay, the city clerk, Eli was doing the city clerk's job. It's her job to provide accessible means to the meeting. It's absolutely right that the ADA coordinator position is not accessible because it assumes that I can have a PDF. Your very own papers say things. And if I could find everything, the crucial role, it says he, it should say, you know, something gender neutral. Crucial role is to ensure that problems are resolved and that persons with disabilities receive needed services. I am not. And furthermore, I was threatened with a water lien, and it was passed on a very careless statement that's inaccurate because it's not on somebody else's property, it's on mine, that it wouldn't be a threat to have a water lien on my property because it would only be, it wouldn't be foreclosed. Yes, it could be foreclosed at any time. I'm not in control of that. And because I'm disabled, I could lose my entire property from not being able to fight a small lien. And furthermore, the other thing about that is that it would, even if it weren't foreclosed by the city before I sold or disposed of the property, it would come out of my hard-earned equity with fees and possibly interest. Nobody was even able to tell me. And so instead of somebody getting back to me in an ADA compliant way, and the Forest Service knows how to do that, and the city does too. On paper, it does. So I'm really, it's a 180 difference in reality. And I would like somebody that says how to assist somebody with a disability. How may I assist you? Taking guidance from the person with the disability is what you need to do. Okay. People have hidden impairments. You can read it yourself on page 3. Okay. Then it talks about it's a comprehensive civil rights law, and what are major life activities? You can read it yourself. Okay, so it's supposed to foster independence, freedom of choice, control of my own life, agency, and the opportunity to blend fully and equally into the rich mosaic of American mainstream. Our President George Bush in 1990 when this was created. So you all want to have an event celebrating this that isn't inclusive remotely. Neither is the application process. And I, meanwhile, am being threatened like I really need something else. The pressure of being disabled and therefore poor for a number of reasons beyond my control. You know, this accident wasn't my fault 20 years ago. So it says the ADA laws must be followed in order to include our fellow citizens who have disabilities. This is on your own website. And
Mona, that is what the point of this chair is, of this Mayor's Committee on Disability. And we have been working with the city since June, when the former ADA coordinator resigned. You have no idea what we have been doing. None.
I
have
don't
not
know
been part
what
of
you've
it. You've not
That's
been part
right, and
of
I
it,
haven't
and we
been
are
able
working
to
on.
be part of it
Please mute
because
her.
when I try, excuse me, you interrupted me. So
Please
please,
mute her.
let's have some courtesy here, please, both ways. I have a
She's got
disability.
the
And
floor, Helena.
every time
Please
you
mute her.
every
And if
time
you
you
can't mute her,
interrupt
please
me, I
remove
lose
her.
every time you interrupt me, I lose my train of thought. Please. You already, from February 6th, you promised to be in contact with me, and because
I don't have the ability to mute or remove her.
well, there's no reason to mute or remove me. This is for people with disabilities, and I
You've
haven't
had
been able
time,
to be heard.
Mona, we have addressed your issue. I have tried, and we have tried, and we will. Me and Eli will follow up as we are able to. We don't deal with water issues as this committee. We can't. But as far
I
as
am not
access,
dealing with water issues. I'm dealing with a policy issue
please remove her.
that only the Public Utilities Director can solve. And I'm being prevented from getting access to the person I need to speak with. And that is the job of
So, yeah, so this person,
What was her name again?
Her name is Mona. I don't feel safe saying her last name
Okay.
because of her behavior and her way of communicating. I don't want to put her at any risk.
I thought she had said it, so.
Yeah, she may have, but I don't feel in any way obligated to reveal her identity or anything like that.
She didn't state it.
Yeah, okay. And I maintained confidentiality, and she got mad at me saying that I didn't. I absolutely did. I never once stated her name to anybody at the city. I was simply trying to find information, and she got mad about that. And so yeah, so this has been an ongoing issue. She is correct. This has been about 4 months of this. I can't deal with that personally. It is beyond me. It's beyond my abilities as the chair of this committee, as a volunteer of the city. You know, and Regina just stated on a public comment, we've spent at least 100 hours on the phone with her, Me Utilities and Constituent Services and others. And with the emails that I have received, I actually, for once, I believe that, you know, the amount of time taken. And so anyway, I want to publicly acknowledge her. She has been heard. She has, you know, we are all dealing with it and care. There's not much that I can do as the chair of this committee or this committee. And that's unfortunate, but that's just how it is. The next item on the agenda, and I'm gonna be really quick because we have 7 items to get to, but I'm just gonna go do a brief overview of the ICE issues. And we can work on this later, but I will bring it up as an issue. So item 8A, ice removal in the city of Santa Fe is an ADA compliance issue. In this packet, I did include the website that has a need for updating the language to be more clear and also more inclusive. The direct statement is snow and ice removal for an accessible Santa Fe, and it just says, let's make our city safe and disability friendly, and gives a link to the PDF, which when you try and Google that PDF, I couldn't find anything that came up. That PDF does not come up. And so my request for that is to actually make a separate web page in addition to the PDF, or have the PDF linked for accessibility for people who need a PDF, so that when we went, so that an actual web page is linked and that is actually searchable and Googleable. And then the only other statement is under the second, for neighbors, Santa Fe Municipal Code 23-1.8 requires owners, agents, and occupants of any property to keep sidewalks. And then it cuts off because of the new web page, which I have an issue with, and I'll get with you on that, Regina. And then it says front of and adjoining their property clean of snow and ice. One thing that was interesting to me was not so much, and of course it is an issue in residential areas to have people clear the snow. But one thing that I noticed, and I did include photos in this packet, is that crosswalks are frequently, Robin, are you on the phone?
I'm listening. It was an
I'm trying
important.
to, yeah, I'm trying, I hear noise, but I'm trying to figure out.
Oh, no, that's not me. No.
Okay. Okay. So in the packet, there are photos of which I tried to put a text identifier just for future reference on especially Palace and Washington Avenues. That crosswalk consistently has ice, like inches of ice build up. And I have seen people slip. I can say that now. I have seen people slip on it. They did not fall, luckily, but they had a whole train of people helping them to walk across that. Why they didn't cross the street where there was less ice, I don't know, but that was where they were going and that was where they wanted to go. But I also have photos across the street, on the other side of the street, where it's also covered in ice. And this was several days after it had snowed. This was not a brand new ice storm. This was not the night that it snowed or was icy. This was days later. And then I also have identified on Paseo de Peralta the area that is frequently never cleared, which is adjacent to the access path. But the access path is completely covered in trees and brush now, and is completely hidden from the public and from the street, and is also really unsafe, because I will say that there are, unfortunately, not to judge anybody, but there are homeless people that do hang out in that arroyo, and that may make someone feel unsafe if they have a disability that may make them more vulnerable to assault or to being harassed by people. And but for some reason, that sidewalk adjacent to that access path and across from the mall is consistently covered in snow when it snows, and it is never cleared. And for the residents that live just below that area, that's a problem, because that's where they walk. They don't use the access path, and I can say that most of them do not. I have witnessed seniors with walkers trying to get down the sidewalk and not using that access path. And so maybe we need to identify what's going on with that access path, why people aren't using it, but they're not. And so But I wanted to address that and identify that. The city does have an obligation to clear sidewalks, or to clear crosswalks and curb cuts. And I have photographic evidence in this packet that that's not happening. And so I wanted to address that because all of these photos were between 3 and 5 days after snow. And the ice was still, the snow and ice was still present, and not addressed. And this is the plaza. This is a high trafficked area for both residents and tourists. And so if it's happening there, it's happening in other places as well. So Eli, I don't know if you wanted to say anything to that.
No, I mean, maybe it would be helpful to talk a little bit about the process for making these kinds of, I don't know, these kinds of complaints with the city, and maybe there's some way of prioritizing some particular areas that we know are concerning and dangerous. Thankfully, hopefully, you know, we're mostly outside of the winter season, at least, you know, hopefully. But this is something I think we can start preparing for now, and thinking about how do we make sure that we have the right information that's accessible out there? What can we do to have flyers and other kinds of things? So it feels like every time we work on this, it's usually like right around winter when it's like dawns on us. So I think this is something we should probably start working on in the summer to have better outcomes in the fall and winter.
Okay, if no one has any further comments, we can move on to the next item. Item 8B, ADA compliance process upon receipt of a verbal, written, mailed, emailed complaint or request for an accommodation. And so I just wanted to check in with Regina because I know that the process, which again, I tried to print, but I again got cut off on the end, so I can't really read it exactly what it says, but I'm the one who wrote that ADA grievance process with David Chapman when he was the interim ADA coordinator, and we went through the process of what it should look like when a person receives a complaint, what the process is, how long it takes, all of that. And I know, Regina, you're new to this, so it's like, no judgment whatsoever. This is all new to you, and I completely understand that. One thing that I did note when I was looking through the webpage, which maybe if you have time at some point to look through those web pages and the links, because Tom Graham's name is still listed on numerous pages. And then in other areas, it just says ADA coordinator and doesn't identify you. And so all of those should say your name, phone number, email, and physical address. And so if that can all be addressed, that's what my main concern is, because that makes it accessible for someone to be able to contact you for accommodations. And so sorry, I'm reading notes, seeing if it's relevant to what I'm saying. And so that was my main concern, though, is that, you know, we did discuss that and the need for that. And I know you had worked on it a little bit. I don't know what was happening with the website. I know you had put stuff and then it disappeared. And so I don't know what was going on. It was when the website was still being updated. And so, but if we can work on that to make sure that it's consistently saying you until there is an ADA coordinator, that would be wonderful. And then maybe we can go over the process of what it should look like and to make sure that you're doing it right, and make sure that there's no confusion about what would happen. And also to note that we are here, that me and Eli are here for reference. And, you know, if there's confusion, send us an email. You're always welcome to say, I don't know what to do about this. What do I do? Because this is kind of, to me, a group process, including the mayor's committee, including me and Eli and Kendra and all of us. Thank you, Robin. And Robin has to leave, so. And so I just wanted to check in with that. Gina Maria?
Yeah, I'm clicking on the links, Regina, that you're dropping here. Report problems here. Those problems do not relate to any ADA or potentially don't relate exactly to ADA, it should be listed there. That there's an ADA complaint and what kind of complaint it is.
What's
Right.
more helpful for our team is to know that it's like a streets or sidewalk complaint, because that's who's going to go do the work. So that's the category they want you to put it in so that they can deploy workers to solve the problem.
Okay, so what if it's, that someone wasn't able to access a meeting?
Then there an other option or a meeting option, or just do your best.
I'm getting to
just
that,
put
by the way,
other,
because that's on the
word
website.
other.
Yeah,
But I
I'm
did,
gonna get to that.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair, for your support and guidance on the accommodation and the response process. I must admit, I'm way more about getting the accommodation done. Like, I've been working with IT on Pam's request, and I probably am missing a written response to her. And I could really use a little training on that. So thank you for that. I did want to say, we already had the transition plans were on the website, but it was kind of a gnarly way they were posted. So we fixed it. I don't know if you noticed. If you guys
No,
ever
I
have
didn't
any
see that.
questions, it's a great way to just Google to see if I fixed stuff. So, and I'm sure that's what Kathleen did too. So thank you guys for the feedback, and we'll keep making it better.
Yeah, thank you. So I will check into that transition plan. And then, so if there's no more comments on that. No. Okay. Our next item is 8C, continued discussion of appropriate city placement for ADA coordinator and mayor's committee on disability. And so I just wanted to get an update on whether anything's moving forward or what's going on.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. It is not going to move for this fiscal year. It'll stay in Public Works. As I said, it's funded under a capital line item, which makes it sort of harder to move. The mayor's definitely totally committed to your to making our city more accessible. I'm totally committed. I'm really excited that we have this you've opened our eyes. You have me opening everybody else's eyes. And so I'm happy to support the ADA coordinator who will work in my department to work throughout the city. The mayor is looking forward to the day when he can create an Office of Equity and Inclusion. You heard that discussion come up around the obelisk. It won't happen this year because of budget largely. We are experiencing a slight decrease in revenues, which is causing us to have to create a fiscal year 24 budget that's a little smaller than last year's budget. So we're getting less things, not more. But that is in the vision, in the plan, and the mayor does agree that the ADA coordinator would be a great piece of that team of Office of Equity and Inclusion. So I think that's the update.
If there are no further comments, I know I finally talked while I was muted. I've been trying to be good about that. If there are no further comments or questions about that item and the moving placement of the ADA coordinator and mayor's committee on disability, we will move on to discussion of the updates to the new city website, how the city never obtained advising from the mayor's committee on disability on website features, accessibility, continued lack of ADA compliant information to request accommodations and report concerns, and 2022 year in review claiming ADA certified city website not accurate, and more. And this is item 8D on the agenda. In this packet, I just wanted to say that I did include an article regarding digital accessibility. And the title of the article is that the DOJ announces Title II web accessibility regulations are coming, and what does that mean? And it just says basically that in April now, that they will be planning to release more of their guidance and what they will be requiring. And so basically it's happening right now that they are requiring it. And so it's good that the city start moving forward on assuring that the city website is accessible, because it's going to be enforced very soon actively. And so it's good that the Eli has been very proactive on that as well. And I appreciate all of your insight and input on that, Eli. So I just wanted to make everyone aware of this article. And then the other item is the Mayor's Committee on Disability page actually needs to be updated. And there are 2 points that need to be updated. One is that the members list is outdated and does need to be identified with all of us correctly. I don't know when it was last updated. It's been a while. And then Regina, I did ask that the meetings list, the meeting times or the meeting dates be listed on the webpage as well, in addition to PrimeGov, and that hasn't happened. So I just wanted to check in to ask for that to be updated. And I do appreciate that that was included on PrimeGov because it is more accessible now. But for someone with visual disabilities, what they will have to do is go through an entire list and listen to all of the meetings in that entire list in order to find where our meeting is. Where if it was just a list on our website, then it's more accessible because they can just find this list and see where our entire year's schedule is without having to go through all of the other committee meetings. And so that's, yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll submit both of those.
Okay, thank you. And then the other item that I had is my suggestion, and this is for the city, the main city webpage with the menu, where you said, you know, how you just stated and discussed with Gina Maria about where do you go for a complaint, how do you input a complaint for an ADA need. And I actually do suggest that there needs to, under request and under report, there's no ADA options. And so there needs to be under request, there needs to be request an ADA accommodation, and under report, there needs to be an ADA violation. And yes, there may be some overlap, but maybe we can have a checkbox or something where you can see that it says roads and an ADA violation, because right now there's no documentation of ADA violations occurring in the city. And that's actually really concerning, because there needs to be a document of the ADA violations so that they can be addressed and be assured that they are completed as an ADA violation and not just as a road or sidewalk or crosswalk issue. And so, and that's pretty standard. And so what's happening now is they really are disappearing. And there's no ability for even us as a committee to understand what's going on in our own city. And so I don't know if anyone, we're going to get to the one to yours, Eli, next. I don't know if anyone has anything to say on those. I know I'm going really quick because I'm trying to stay in time. Aurora?
That list you had of all the different things you could click on, you know, at parts of the city and everything. I'm assuming it's because you listed it because there's no disability, anything on that.
Nothing. Yeah.
So if they had
I can't even request, like if I need an ASL interpreter or I need CART or I can't request that. So.
And if there were a category, if there were one of those labels that said disability issues, it could link to all kind of like that, requests like that, to the committee, to the ADA coordinator, but there's nothing.
There's nothing, yeah. Regina, go ahead.
So my understanding was we had a separate process for ADA grievances as it's outlined on the website, and it says here's the form and you're supposed to email it to me.
Yeah, so what I'm saying is on the main menu, when you go to the main page on the city website, if it said I have an ADA complaint or an ADA violation complaint or whatever the phrasing is, it could go to the web pages. Because right now, if someone uses that menu and doesn't notice that it says, you know, ADA in the main menu on the top, or it doesn't notice that it says ADA compliance at the bottom, but they utilize that main menu the way that most people in the city do, it's not going to direct them anywhere. There's nowhere to send them to the ADA coordination web pages in that menu. And all of the other city items are addressed that are the main items, but that one's not included. And I can go over this with you more in depth to like figure out if there's a way to resolve this, but I just wanted to bring it to your attention that like if I go to that menu and I do a drop down and I say report an ADA violation or request an ADA accommodation, there's nothing in there.
And then I just thank you so much. And then the way to get ASL is by calling the city clerk.
Mhm.
And the link that I shared was just for the ICE. So
Yeah.
it's interesting now to see it, like you guys feel like there should be like one place where you could report anything, and that would be best. But that's not how it is right now. So thanks for that feedback.
Yeah. Yeah, and we'll work on these to get these done. It's just a lot of using the website too, because it's a new website and it's very different than the other one. And so it's a lot of me clicking around and us clicking around and being like, wait a minute, where is something, or how does this work? And whether it does or doesn't work is a really interesting process. And then Eli, you wanted to mention about the ADA certified website claim.
Oh, yeah, I did want to mention that if there's one big recommendation to make to the city, it's to not use Accessibility. They are often, most of the time, I would say, create access issues. They're also not very genuine and straightforward about the services they provide. There's no ADA certification or anything like that that really exists. So, and that ties into a presentation that Jesse Artemio made from the Governor's Commission yesterday, which was really fantastic. It and the city was there, and it was well attended. Lots of great questions, and he provided some best practices about the web content accessibility guidelines, both for digital content, the website navigation, and also the forms and documents like Word documents and things like that. So I think it's like it's a starting place, and Jesse's training was fantastic. So just optimistic that, the city and Jesse and working together, we can help make the website more accessible. But it is concerning to use Accessibility. They are pretty notorious for not making a website accessible, and sometimes often creating inaccessibility with the website as well. Gina Marie is asking, was it recorded? No, I don't believe it was recorded.
Any other comments? And so to me, all of this just goes, again, we've already said it, but that the Mayor's Committee on Disability really should be consulted with issues regarding accessibility, disability access, inclusion, all of that. Because if we had been, that would have been addressed prior to the website going live. And we should have been included in that. When Tom had told me that there was discussion of the website being updated, he said that he was sure to make sure that it was accessible. He told me a very specific phrase, which I can include in a future meeting. Thank you, Kendra. But there was no, all of a sudden the website was live, and because he wasn't the ADA coordinator anymore, there was no inclusion of us whatsoever in those discussions about accessibility or inclusion or access to anything. And so, and I think that is an ongoing main problem that occurred that would have been resolved over the summer, that summer of last year, before the website went live, if we had been included. And we would have an accessible website right now. Unfortunately, the claim for an ADA certified website, when I saw that, I was thinking, what is that even? Because that, like Eli said, it doesn't exist. There's ADA compliant and there is inclusive and accessible, but I don't know anything about an ADA certified anything. And so it is concerning to me, and that was included in a formal list from the city, going out to the public, making a claim about the website that's untrue. And so that is also concerning to me, obviously. And so I don't know if we need to vote for more time. I need at most 10 minutes. Yeah, okay. May I have a motion to extend the meeting for another 10 minutes?
I so move.
Second, that's Aurora.
Thank you. Helena, may we have a roll call? You're on mute.
Aurora Black,
Yes.
Kendra Garcia,
She is excused.
Chair Gish,
Yes.
Oh, God.
Pam Parfit,
Yes.
Angelique Montoya Chavez,
Yes.
Miriam Jahar,
Yes.
Eli Fresquez,
Yes.
Christopher Pommier. I think
He's
he's gone,
excused.
right? Okay.
Yeah.
Motion passes to
Thank
extend the meeting 10 minutes.
Thank you. So if there are no further comments about the website issues, all of these, of course, will be on the agenda again next month in some way or form. So if you have anything, you can also plan to discuss it next month. And the next item is 8E, discussion of PROW and transition plan updates. And Regina, you had stated that if you want to restate that for this section, just really quick, you're okay.
Yes, we updated the posting of the transition plans, both for the public right of way and the facilities transition plans. It's on a nice clean page now.
Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Yeah. Yeah. And then if there are no comments, and I will look at that, Regina, and get back to you on all of that. And thank you for that update. And then the next item is 8F, discussion of plan review, current process of city ADA compliance after Hope Reid's resignation from the Mayor's Committee. And so Hope Reid was the plan review person for the city. She did plan review. She was also on our committee, which as far as I know is not required for the plan review person to be on our committee, but that's just how it worked. And so I'm wondering what the updates are since she resigned. Who is doing plan review for the city now? What is needed, if anything? Go ahead, Regina.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. And I believe that was limited to city projects, right? Not the private sector projects.
Correct. That's correct. Yeah.
So we haven't had a new project plan review required since we designed like the teen center, the airport, and the restrooms. And those are the restrooms are built and open. The teen centers will be open in about 3 months, and the airport will be open in about 6. So we haven't had a new facility that needed plan review. The good news is that Tom Graham's new job is the head of the plan review teams.
Okay.
We could ask him to look. Our engineers are, of course, are required to make all things comply with accessibility standards. We're gonna, thanks to Eli, conversation we had and some information Eli sent me, I'm gonna work on beefing up our specs and our contracts to say that all projects must produce materials, facilities that are fully accessible digitally, visually, hearing, what, I'll take a look at the language that Eli sent. So we already, look for appropriate accessibility features, but we're going to beef up some language in our scopes and contracts, but we haven't had a plan set for review in some time.
Okay.
Thank you, Madam.
So then in all of that, I hear that you still need a person to do plan review though, if one came up, if that happened. Because Eli, if you want to expand on this, about the requirements for plan review under the ADA.
Yeah, I mean, each city is going to be different. I don't know the way the city of Santa Fe works, but you would usually need somebody that, like Tom, to do plan reviews and make sure that facilities, new construction, or any kinds of retrofitting that's done to existing facilities are accessible. And I don't know how the city works for with building code and private facilities and private public accommodations. So that might also be something that would need to come through the city. Cities don't, often municipalities don't have strict ADA compliance per se. They use the local building code, which should substantially comply and provide greater access, not less than the ADA. But I don't know how exactly the city works.
Thank you, Eli. Pam? Go ahead.
I just have a quick question of Regina. The airport, is that just mobility issues compliant? Or are you putting in hearing loops so that people can hear at the gates and the announcements and the, well, everywhere in an airport?
Madam Chair, thank you. Thank you, Pam, for the question. I doubt there's hearing loops in there, and Tom was the ADA coordinator that reviewed that plan because that was reviewed a few years ago. But I will see what we could do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pam, Eli, and Regina. So if there are no other comments on that, and I am trying still to get a hold of Hope to find out what she did and how it worked, just from my knowledge, because I was never included in all of that, so I wasn't clear on exactly what she did for the city. And so I will keep reaching out to her. I know she's been busy, so if there are no other comments on this, the next item is Mayor's Committee on Disability Subcommittee reports, 8G. Are there any subcommittee reports? No. Aurora, did you have the transportation?
They haven't had a meeting again. They just had the one, and they were maybe going to have one in March, but it didn't work out. So I haven't heard a thing.
Okay.
But senior van has expanded from the COVID restrictions, and now they're doing, like, they'll take you to the beauty shop in addition, and to the grocery store and things like that, in addition to doctor appointments.
Okay. Well, that's a good update. Pam, do you have something to say?
I can. Oh, I just left it up, but I didn't want to take time. I'll say quickly, Renaissance has agreed to use their existing hearing loop when presenting their educational programs. I don't know if you know what Renaissance is, but it is used greatly by retired people, people with a lot of hearing loss and accessibility issues. And they finally found it and plugged it in to the main meeting room so people can hear.
That's very cool. Will you send me more information on that, Pam?
I'm sorry?
Will you send me more information on that, Pam?
Yes.
Thank you. And then, okay. Yeah, so Regina said, just to be clear, we didn't update the PRO and transition plan. We just posted them on the website in a better format. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and Pam, I mean, Regina, I remember you saying that it was going to be until fall before you even got a budget. Is that still true?
Actually, now, Madam Chair, thank you for the question. Our GRT bond, it can't be done until we get the audits done, and now the earliest possible looks like January.
Okay.
And it's also high on the list of, if you noticed in the flip book up, it's one of the top priorities that we put for the new ADA coordinator. And so, you know, we're 3 months from having them walk in the door, which is July. And so that's the story. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. No, I'm just trying to keep everyone on the same page. It really helps. So thank you. And then next we have matters from staff. Palona.
Yes, Madam Chair. A link to this meeting will be uploaded to the website for viewing.
Thank you.
Can I add one thing?
Yeah.
You had requested to the December 15, well, actually the October minutes. I just wanted to point out on page 4 on the attachment of this meeting, which is labeled item 4.1a, which is the meeting minutes that are published straight from PrimeGov. On page 2, it does have the requested addendum.
Okay. There was a note, yeah, on for October, there was supposed to be a note clarifying the meeting because I had misidentified a person. And then it was the city. Oh gosh, now I'm gonna misidentify her again. But it was Catherine Clark, who we had discussed. Yeah, so that as long as that's on the minutes, and then the transcript needs to be attached to the minutes as an addendum.
Yes.
Yeah,
They're
okay.
both together.
Okay, yeah, please send that to me. Thank you. And I will sign it when I receive it.
Okay.
And then next we have matters from the committee. Is there anything from the committee? No, I just want to thank you all for being here, and it feels productive. At least we're moving forward. So thank you all. And if there's nothing more to add, our next meeting is May 3rd, 2023 from 3 to 5, hopefully by Zoom. And if there's nothing more to add, then we are adjourned at 5:15 p.m.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you,
Thank you.
everyone.
Thank you,
Thanks,
everyone.
everyone.